All right, guys, is the classic and collectible sports car market on BAT on fire? Are you excited about it, or you got jitters because of everything that's going on in the world? We are going to go over the analysis of listings that we talked about in the last episode, and we're going to make some new predictions. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show. All right. Happy New Year, everyone. It is 2025. We made it. We are coming live from downtown Las Vegas in the Container Park, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, right over there. He's in San Francisco. We hope that all of you, wherever you are safe. We know that there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on this morning. Right here in Vegas, people are blowing up Cybertrucks at the Trump Tower. That's actually happening. And crazy enough, there's a connection to the Nerd Herd. Our good friend Chris Carbine, we were worried about him this morning because of everything that's going on in San Francisco. He's literally blocks away from the epicenter of everything that happened. So we were very glad to hear that he's okay and safe. Michael Deeb, how's everything in San Francisco? Geesh.
San Francisco's good. Carbine's in New Orleans, and JP, yeah, it was pretty intense. I have to confess, because we went to bed at midnight. We woke up and took a long drive, and I was on my way home when I saw your text. Carbine's not responding. Is he okay? I dialed him. He answered. And Chris is like, yeah, pretty crazy, huh? And I said, Chris, I don't know what's going on. Like, why am I calling you? And he said, so he and Ann were together. They are safe. They are fine. Thank goodness. It seems to be that Chris's rather generous circle of friends, there was no connection to anybody involved in this like horrible tragedy that happened in the French Quarter. But thank goodness they're all safe. And we just, obviously, anything that happens, it puts worry in us. We love you guys, and we just want everybody to be, peace, people, like peace. It's New Year's, like calm down. It's hard to make sense of it, but thank God they're all right. Ann said something, JP, that will hit home with all of us. She goes, Michael, you see these things happen on the news and you think it'll never happen to us. And then something happens in our own backyard where we thought it would never happen, right in the middle of the French Quarter, where obviously everybody goes when they're having fun. And she goes, and now here we are. That's, I guess, by definition, what terror is all about, to put a little fear in people and make them not, feel safe. And so that was a sad thing to hear and share with her. But again, they're all right. And man, it's tough. It gives you an interesting perspective to start off the year, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, we're here in Vegas, and you were here on the 1 October shooting, so we can definitely relate being in a city that's been that's had to deal with this kind of nonsense, and it really is just absolute freaking nonsense, these people. But whatever, we won't get too into that, but there is kind of an interesting connection to the car world. This really doesn't have anything to do with our topic, but I did want to kind of bring it up for a second, is that apparently, and this is kind of unsubstantiated, but this is what I'm hearing. I've heard it a number of times, is that both the Cybertruck that was blown up here in Vegas and the F-150 that was used in the attack in New Orleans were both rented on Turo.
Oh my God.
Have you ever rented a Turo car? I'm like going, oh my God, does that mean anybody, like I have a profile on Turo. I actually rented cars. I rented a couple of my own cars on Turo. I rented them out. So I've been a renter as well as a rentee. Is that the right way to say it? So Good Lord, are they going to be just like digging and all? I feel bad for the guys at Turo, because I'm sure they have nothing to do with any of this. But what do you make of that? I mean,
we were talking before we went live, JP, and you said, boy, the feds are going to be up their butt with a fine-tooth comb. I just hope everybody at Turo keeps good records, because this is just going to be so uncomfortable. I just wonder if the company brand will survive the negative publicity. Yeah. And JP, I would not, even though I think Turo is a great idea, I don't know that the outlook for them is good going right into the first moments of 2025. I think they have a very unusually steep ladder to climb if they're going to survive this. And this is saying something coming out.
There's your conspiracy theory. It's Hertz Rent-A-Car is going out there going, we can't have these rideshare things anymore. We got to have corporate rental cars only. No more crowdsourcing rental cars. All right, well, that's enough of that. What do you guys think of that connection? Is that connection significant, do you think, at all? I don't know. It's just crazy to me. All right, let's move on. Let's get into the car market. speaking of explosions, we've seen some crazy numbers here on the listings that we talked about in the last week. We had the holiday. That's one thing that kind of the big theme of last week's or the last show that we did was talking about how much the holidays kind of put a wrench in how much does this kind of disruption in the market cause. So let's go over the listings that we talked about in the last episode. I think it should be kind of interesting to see the results and connect the dots, right? This first
Absolutely.
one, oh my God.
JP, this first one is going to be like a leather glove that was left in the freezer and then pulled out just to slap you across the face with.
Guess, yeah.
We are going to circle right back to the 1993 Porsche 911 America Roadster in a beautiful salmon metallic that Porsche calls raspberry red metallic paint. Now, this car, JP, on Bring a Trailer out of La Cañada, Flint Ridge, California, is a miler. It's got 155,000 miles. It's also an automatic equipped car, which does it no favors in value. But that rare colorway matched with an equally unusual raspberry red leather upholstery. It has chrome, or I think polished Speedline wheels. It says Speedline style wheels, but the wheels themselves are etched in the Speedline for Porsche. So I think they're authentic. Tech Art lowering springs. The car has been repainted, so it looks to be in decent condition. I don't know what to make of that rear wing. It looks like something we saw on Facebook Marketplace recently. Is that not a similar wing to that one that Anthony Vieira sent us? Like that's
that was a big, huge taco wing.
Okay, well this is also a weird non-Porsche specific wing, but super rare car, JP. As we mentioned earlier when we first covered this car, one of just 250 of these made in a 2-year period. And as I understand it, several of the America Roadsters were equipped with an automatic. This one's got some miles, but that red paint is going to drive the price. JP, according to our buddies at classic.com, the average selling price of an America Roadster in the secondary market is $117,600. I thought that this car, despite the miles and the automatic transmission, had a chance to break 90 grand. My bid was $91,100, 91100. JP, you said you were surprised at my bid and didn't think it would do quite that well. Of course, my contest was that the rare paint would bring out the fools and that they would seriously overbid on this car $10,000 to $15,000 at my bid. Your bid was 65, but you said, yeah, you never can underestimate the stupidity of the PCA crowd. They might jump for that car. So I'll give you that disclaimer, but your bid was 65 grand. John, our car hammered for a whopping $95,000, a cold leather glove to the face.
Yeah.
On New Year's. I mean, my God, 64 bids, JP. They fought over this car, $95,000. The winner here is the seller, my friend. Look at that. 95 grand. Oh, man, talk about a reach. JP, you cannot roll back the odometer. And at 95, you lose the ability to justify a manual swap. You know what I mean? Like at your number, sure, go spend 30 grand in Houston and get a manual thrown in there. That's a great idea. You're in it under 100. And you could drive it home. But my God, 95, just goes to show you a fool and his money will soon be parted. There you go. What do you say, JP?
I guess Chris survived New Orleans and got a Yahtzee, so that's congrats to him really? For a couple of times here. This just what a stupid result. I mean, I've said it before. We know that all those bidders have PCA cards in their wallet. Now, and I'm not saying they're just PCA members. I'm saying they have a laminated card. They printed it out and got a laminator, and they have it, and they will tell you that they're members of the PCA. They go to every PCA event. PCA people just are they just go crazy over these rare colors. And this car is a rare car. It's not only, the California Roadster was, I don't know how many hundreds of them you said that there were, but this car in this shade of color, I think there's one of 6. Or there's only 6 of them. And then this color combo with the interior, I believe makes it one of 4. So it is a very rare car, but I just don't give a crap. Why would anyone pay so much money for a 150,000 mile Tiptronic 911? That is just the dumbest thing. They are not speed lines, by the way. They are RH turbos, because we did talk about that a little bit on the last episode, and I went back and checked. It was confirmed that they are not genuine speed lines. These are RH turbo as a manufacturer of wheel is a great manufacturer. It's not like they're cheap Chinese reps or something like that. They're still they're German-made wheels, but they're not worth 10 grand. They're worth like 3 or 4 grand instead.
So there's 4 photos of each of the wheels with the Speedline etching. How do you get RH turbos and the Speedline etching on their lip? I've never seen that happen. So that's impressive.
It's entirely possible. Maybe someone bought the outer barrels. And rebuilt them at some point, because 3-piece wheels are 3 pieces. Yeah. You can take them apart and change the width and all that kind of stuff.
That's a lot of work.
So
good for you.
Yeah, cool. It's so gosh darn dumb. What was really interesting too is that because there were a lot of bids, I think it got up to like something $87,000 and change, and then there was a knockout blow at 95, and that just kind of like shut it down. So for a bunch of dorks and idiots that were bidding on this, someone had some solid strategies and just said, I'm shutting this down. I'm not going to let it get over 100. It got up to just below 90, and someone kind of, gave it a big old, yeah, I do like the car in general. I mean, I love the Roadster California thing and the wide body, and I do even like the color, but 95 grand, that's just plain old. Man, I mean, it's only the first day of 2025, and we've already seen the dumbest result of the year. What do you guys think of the results of this raspberry cabriolet? I'm dumbfounded on this one. All right, let's move on. Let us know what you guys think, and let's go to the next car. What do we got?
All right, JP, we are going to look in on our 1987 Mazda RX-7 Turbo 2 with a 5-speed manual. Our car is listed on Bring a Trailer out of North Aurora, Illinois. The car has 63,000 miles on it. And JP, where did all these cars go? I mean, I remember seeing these cars on the road when I was in high school and college. They were everywhere in the Bay Area. And I can't remember the last time I saw one, period. Like this century, these things just vanished. So I thought this car stood a chance of like really getting deep into the 20s because the mileage is fair. The condition is pretty good. The seats look a little faded, that red cloth, but that's sort of to be expected. If this car spends any time in the sun, you would expect that red dye to fade. Neat car. Obviously, we talked about it being a 944 plagiarism, as the Japanese do. But no, I don't have a problem with that. Like that, why not make a Japanese knockoff that's a little less and a little more reliable? Good on you. But man, where did they all go again? So JP, according to our friends at classic.com, these cars in the secondary market tend to bring, the Turbo 2s tend to bring $23,700 if they have a manual transmission. I thought our car would do a little better than that at $24,700 with the movement of Radwood and the young timers in general. You took the under at just $22,000, and our car hammered at only $19,107, but it sold. And here's where it gets interesting, JP. Just 10 bids. So is it just that niche a car that there really isn't a wide audience for something like this? Is that why it only got 10 bids? Or did we miss something? And the reason why the car didn't come up to our bids is like we missed something. And then, the bidding just ended, 19 grand. And everybody was like, well, I'm not paying 20 for that thing. Like, what do you think, JP? That's 10 bids just surprises me for such a Radwood, fantastic car. And I always thought these cars had a decent reputation. I'd never thought of them as being like terribly unreliable, other than it's a Wankel rotary engine. And as you say, you'd be happy to rebuild that motor every 16,000 miles, Yeah.
Did someone get a Yahtzee on this one? I don't know.
Not on this. Not on 107.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty surprising. I know that my friend Zach at Audi Henderson, he said like 19,000 or whatever, so he was really close.
Way to go, Zach!
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, what do I get?" I'm like, "Nothing. You didn't get a Yahtzee. Get over yourself. You missed it. It's got to be the exact number." These cars are kind of throwaway cars. I mean, the Wankel engine is great and it's neat. If you know someone that can keep rebuilding them, that's what you have to do. But anytime you have a brand whose whole position is we're just as good as fill in the blank brand, but for less money, you're not getting something that's going to last. No one bought one of these because they're like, oh, it's just as good as a Porsche, so I'm going to treat it like one. They got one because they couldn't afford a Porsche and they got rid of it as soon as they could. Or, these weren't very expensive in the first place, and the people that got a hold of them after the fact just they're throwaway cars. These just didn't, they just plummeted in value and no one kept any good ones. This one isn't even really that nice. It's okay. These assets are terrible. We talked about it on the last episode, but a lot of the details just kind of, what's interesting about this is I guess the guy that sold this car, the seller, Chicago Mazda, I believe is his call sign. He's sold like 5 or 6 rotary cars, RX-8s, RX-7s, different generations and stuff. So he kind of fancies himself as a rotary car guy, but he's not a dealership, but he's sold 5 of these. The ad said that he was representing it for his father. And then I'm looking in the comments, his first introduction to the auction was, I'm a reputable RX-7 guy. Everybody kind of knows me as the RX-7 guy. And I acquired this car from an acquaintance of mine who had it for a long time. It's like, wait, whoa, wait, what is it? I'm not here to impugn Chicago Mazda's, reputation, but bro, you got to tie up the narrative here. You've got some loose ends you got to figure out. This car seems like it's a decent car. I don't know. Don't really care. I'm not very excited about it. You know what? Something that was really interesting about this, Deeb, that I was looking at. I looked at the Carfax after the fact. I don't know if I can bring this up to you guys, but this car was sold on Bring a Trailer. Obviously, we're talking about a Bring a Trailer listing. Let me see if I can pull this up. But I was looking at the records, and it actually said this. When did this car's auction ended on 12/30, right?
Yep.
Well, check it out on the Carfax. Lo and behold, it says auto auction, vehicle sold 12/30.
Wow.
So this is a new development. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed this, but it looks like BAT is reporting auction sales to Carfax. That is a huge shocker to me. I don't know what do you think of that, Deeb? What does that make you? I mean,
I don't know.
Apparently you haven't heard of this, so
I have not. I'll have to think about that. I really don't have a problem with that. Every title transfer is supposed to happen on there. But the fact that it's sold on the thing, I mean, obviously you won't be able to lie about it. I don't know why you would. So I don't think I have a problem with that, but I got to mull that over and see if there's something I'm missing. That's an interesting one, JP.
It's a new development. It's,
it's a new wrinkle.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, are under the impression that most of the cars sold on BAT are dealer cars, and that's just not the case. Most of them are private. No. And that's part of the appeal of going to BAT is, you're more than likely going to have an opportunity to deal with a private seller, and that's you want that one-to-one relationship. You always kind of want to avoid that middleman of a dealer if you can. Feels more honest and maybe more transparent. It's not always the case. Not like there aren't unscrupulous private sellers as well. But I just think it's interesting because Carfax always mentions like you said, when a car changes registration, but it doesn't. But the car hasn't changed registration. It's just said it was sold at auction. Right. So, and it doesn't say which auction.
Nope.
I wish they did, because to me, if I'm looking at Carfax and I see cars sold at auction, as someone who's adjacent to the car business, my instinct would be that, okay, it was sold at a dealer auction. And usually when a dealership sells a car at auction, it's because they tried to sell it on their lot and they couldn't, and something went wrong with it, and they just want to unload the thing and cash out on it. So that kind of makes me go, I don't know if that's good information you really want on the record of your car. If it said Bring a Trailer auction, I'd have a different point of view. What do you think?
Yeah, here's the thing, JP. Can you imagine if this went wholesale and every car that was wholesaled through Manheim had this on their Carfax?
Right.
You'd set up red flags like crazy. But in the retail world, I mean, it's interesting. If you see that, you certainly have the ability to go run the VIN against the different auction platforms and see if you can find out where it's sold, if it's one of the bigger, more reputable ones. And again, which ones are reporting to Carfax and which ones are not. That's going to become an interesting question real soon, real fast. Yeah. So are they tracking down, like Sotheby's is reputable, they're big, but like, are they, they're tracking down PCAR Market.
It's not enough information. It's like, guys, at Carfax, okay, fine. More information is good. Transparency is good. But this kind of ambiguous car sold at auction, that's weird. Bidbert says there should be a difference between a private seller auctioning a car and a dealer auctioning a car. There is, Bidbert. I mean, it's clearly stated. One's a dealer, one's a private seller. And when you buy a car from a dealer at auction, you're going to have to pay the dealer fees and the dock fees and do all the dealer stuff. Whereas executing a transaction with a private seller is just like any other sales or private sale transaction. So do your homework before you do it. But all right, what do you guys think of the idea of Carfax putting that whole car sold at auction thing without being specific? Let us know in the comments. I think just ultimately, Deeb, it just said it goes right down to that whole, just do your research. Yep. Get in there and make sure you know what you're doing, and
ask questions.
Ask questions. That's a great way to put it. All right, guys, let's move on to the next car. Is there an explosion going on in the classic car market? I mean, with that 964 selling for $95,000 with a Tiptronic and 150,000 miles, that makes me think, oh my God, the market's on fire. People are crazy optimistic. This RX-7, even though it came in under kind of what I thought it was, not by much. I think that's
not by much. You were close.
For kind of a half-ass listing. What about the next one? What else we got?
All right, JP, you and I have very different views of this next car. We're going to look in on the 1992 BMW M5 Touring that was running no reserve on Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids auction site. Our car is showing 123,000 miles and is registered in Connecticut, Guilford, Connecticut. Terrible assets, JP, but a rare car that was never sold new in the United States. The M5s that we got, the E34 M5s that we got, were sedans. They all had a 3.6. They made about 310 horsepower. But these Tourings that were sold in Europe for a couple of years, of which there are only, if I can find that number really quickly, I cannot. Anyway, it's a low number. They made a couple hundred of them, I think. Here's the interesting thing. 890 of these built between 92 and 95. I believe they're all 3.8s, and then they come with this upgraded suspension system called the Nürburgring package. By all accounts, these are great cars. Now, I know that the look of this car does nothing for you to move the needle, but I have a suspicion, JP, that if you drove one of these on a back road, you would forget about how boxy and boring the exterior of the car is and find yourself in love with how they drive. Having driven a couple E34 M5s, I do really like the car. Inline six, normally aspirated, individual throttle bodies. It's a long throw to the shifter, and it's a long travel to like the clutch pedal and stuff. But these are just, this was, I think, kind of a golden era for BMW, not design-wise, but man, mechanically, it just felt like the stuff they were doing on the track was trickling straight down to their cars, and these are great driving cars. That being said, JP, this car did have a few flaws. It does have a few miles. And we wondered how it would do. According to our friends at Classic.com, M5 Tourings in the United States typically bring $52,000. This one, with a little bit of bubbling of rust in the door, a little wear and tear, and some miles on it, I thought it would bring 45 grand. JP, you took the under at $39,000, and our car hammered for $43,750, confirming that I'm a genius, and it sold on 40 bids. It ran no reserve, JP. Do you think that helped it get to that number because everybody knew no matter what, if I put a bid in, I'm taking that car home? Do you think that was – I think that was kind of the smart play. If this thing wasn't running no reserve, I don't know that it breaks 40 grand.
Yep. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure if we had a weird sound coming through. Yeah, I mean, my New Year's resolution is to just ish all over every sport wagon I can. I'm so over these stupid things. And
I'm picking them every week.
I said on the last episode, if you could drive this with a blindfold and not have to look at it, it'd be great. Yeah, M5 E34 M5s are magnificent cars. But geez, Louise, did you see the driving video of this car? I mean, you said it'd be great driving around on a back road or something like that, and I agree with you. But I hate this seller. If I didn't hate him before, oh my God. So there was a comment that was like, this guy is like hauling ass through a neighborhood. There's children at the bus stop, and he's going like 60 in a 25. Guys, when you're making a driving video, find a cool road. Look at this R word. Can you guys see? Look at this guy. He's doing the whole one-handed thing in the corners. Wait a minute. This is early on, but I mean, he's hauling ass in a neighborhood. Here he goes going through the corner. You know, he's going to do the shuffle thing. I mean, it's just embarrassing, this guy. Oh, yeah, he's got his arm on the, look at me. I'm going to row through the gears. Yeah. One-handed, hauling ass through a neighborhood. This is just unacceptable. I think this guy is just an absolute R word. And I just don't think this is what I think of when I think of someone driving a sport wagon. Is just like complete idiocracy.
Buffoonery.
Just, I mean, look at this dork. He's steering under the steering wheel with two. Get out of here. Okay, I'm over it. What do you guys think of the results of this jerk's M5 that sold? Do you think that was a good result or not? I mean, 43 grand. I think at least it's good that this a-hole doesn't have that car anymore. Hopefully he goes and gets a bus pass and doesn't drive on our roads anymore. I hate the guy. All right, anything else you want to say about this dumb listing? Boy, can you tell?
Go to commercial.
Yeah, let's go to commercial. We'll be right back with new listings. We got some good stuff. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. Deeb, I know you're as excited as I am. We're going to go up and see Anthony Vieira, the owner of Our Smiths. They are doing a tech session up there, Tech Ed,
Boise.
I think they call it, up in Boise, Idaho, and they've invited us to go up there and have a conversation with those guys. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so looking forward to that. It's going to be the end of... And what's the date? Do you remember?
I believe it's Saturday, the 25th of January. I don't know the actual location, but as I understand it, and God, forgive me if I have this wrong, but Anthony's like the president of the PCA club up there, and he's doing this tech thing, and I think he's flying us up. I bought a ticket. We'll see if we get reimbursed. But anyway, he's flying us up, and we're going to guest, speak, I think, or say something, or maybe just sign autographs. I don't know what we're doing. Who knows? Maybe we're just up there. Maybe he's flying us up to park cars because he knows we're the youngest guys in the PCA that know how to drive manuals. So
yeah, we can drive anyway, stick,
yeah. But anyway, we're going up there and we're going to meet hopefully a ton of our Boise friends. I'm actually very excited. I've never been to Boise, JP. So this will be cultural interactions of the United States of America for me. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny how many PCA club presidents we're friends with, and they're all really good guys, but we ish on PCA constantly. It's funny, most of the PCA presidents that I know, they're all like, yes, we know how bad it is. They're just like, and they're such good guys because they're trying their damnedest to dispel the bad reputation that the club has gotten, and they're doing their darndest, and we're going to try to help them with that. We're going to have a great time. I don't know what we're going to have to create some promotional assets for that event, so maybe we can get some more people to attend it and just make it a cool event. So looking forward to that.
If you're anywhere in the area, you should join us for that weekend. It should be really fun. I'll be there for a couple days in advance, and looking forward to hanging out with Anthony and seeing Randy and hopefully a few other guys. Just seeing Boise. Like I'm excited to go to a town I've never been to before. So
you're gonna want to move there, I think. When it might be a little cold, that might freak you out. All right, let's get back to the cars. Let's get back to some predictions. It's prediction time. We are here to analyze some listings and make predictions on what the auctions will actually result. That was grammatically totally screwed, but that's okay. We'll go with it. I'm excited about this first car. This first car is everyone's dream. Let's just get to it. Is there an explosion in the classic car market? Is 2025 going to be the year for classic cars? Let's get to this first one. What do we got, Michael Deeb?
My first question to you, JP, is when you were in high school in the 80s, did you have a poster of a Lamborghini Countach on your wall?
Yes, I had many posters on my wall with cars and cars, and very often probably a scantily
Girls.
clad girl as
Yes,
well.
yes. Yeah.
You know, together
With a
or
beer
separate.
bottle.
Either one. Yeah, exactly.
With a beer bottle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did have a white Lamborghini Countach poster in my room, with a bunch of Ferrari stuff, but there was one Lamborghini. So JP, what we're looking at here, a premium alumni listing on Bring a Trailer, is this gorgeous 1987 Lamborghini Countach 5000 QV Quattrovalvole. Our car is listed by the seller 1600 Veloce out of North Salem, New York. The car was restored in 2015 in Canada, and the car is currently showing 19,000 kilometers, which is about 12,000 miles. So follow all the history on this, JP, because this car has an interesting provenance. It was first sold through a Lamborghini dealership in Ontario, Canada. And then later on, the car, the owner, somebody purchased the car who was a Canadian Lamborghini restorer. So he purchased the car and he began a restoration that started in 2013. In 2015, the restoration was complete. And then the car made an appearance in Monterey, California that summer at Concorso Italiano, where the car was inspected personally by Lamborghini test driver and super celebrity Valentino Balboni. So he checked out the car, and then the car won the Best of Marquee in that show, which is a very prestigious Lamborghini national award. So then later that year, then in 2022, the car was sold on Bring a Trailer. So let's see. I'm messing up some of the provenance. So the car won the show in 2015. The car was inspected by Balboni in August of 2022. And then later that month, the car was sold on Bring a Trailer. So while Balboni was mulling over the car from underneath, they took videos and they included them in the listing where the car was sold in August of 22 on Bring a Trailer. Now, we didn't cover it back then, JP, but this car sold for a whopping $700,000. The restoration included and motor rebuild, and they completely repainted the car in its original shade of, and I don't even know if I can pronounce this, my Italian is lacking, but they call this Rosso Siviglia, so Siviglia. Anyway, it sounds very sexy, as almost everything in Italy does. But JP, if you could pull up the hero shot from our listing today and pull up the hero shot, I don't know if you can just split screen or just go back and forth, from before. And what's interesting is our friends, and I say that loosely, our friends, the seller, 1600 Veloce in North Salem, that's their hero shot. It's a road shot, which is great, but they took a bunch of photos of the car. So they took a bunch of photos of the car in their photo booth, which I think are okay. Like, photo booth shots are good. They're very honest photography, but I don't know that they do anything to enhance the shot of the car. But the hero shot for the car from before in the bucket, JP, is photo number 2. So that one. There you go. Yeah, that's it. JP, to me, that looks like somebody spent a couple $1,000s on photography, and that photo makes me want to run through a wall to go get that car. I don't know how to explain it to you. The car's, the stance, the lighting, it just accentuates everything that Giorgetto Guerrero penned into the design of the car. It puts that car in its best light. And to me, it is exemplary of what professional and profound photography can do for a listing. And while no miles essentially have been added to this car has run in the last couple of years less than 200 kilometers since it sold for $700,000. These new photos aren't to snuff, and so I wonder if he'll get to the mark of where it went before, because they didn't bring it to market correctly. And I know 1600 Veloce is relying heavily on their photo booth, but I'm telling you, your photo booth doesn't hold a candle to what a professional photographer can do in low light that knows how to use an effing camera. And so, JP, you've been preaching on this. I've had the pleasure of working with you for the last 7 or 8 years, and the impact that it's had on my perception and what I see when I look at a car is nothing short of astounding. And so while these photo booth shots are nice and they're great, and to the average layman, they're like, wow, it looks like studio photography, which it is. But when you go back to what they did last time, that is everything to me. I just think the photos are fantastic. Am I overdoing it, JP, or do you think there is something there? Do you think 1600 Veloce might fall short of what this guy paid for the car just 2 years ago. And of course, the market was a little different. Let's not forget that. So, John, I send it back to you, an absolute dreamy car that, and Countach, as you and I have been recording or having a moment, this car should bring all the money. And for all I know, it might bring more than the guy paid for it just 2 years ago. But man, those old photos are everything. And the new photography, even in a studio, I think it falls short. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, romance always sells cars. I don't know how much it's going to make a difference here because the new photos, you're right, Deeb. They're antiseptic and they're just kind of, they're not very exciting. But at the same time, I don't think what they are is very well done, and they are, I'm not going to say boring. They're all about the car. Its dominant focal point is the car and the details. And I think that's what people want a lot of times when they're spending this kind of money. But to get them to go over the top, you do have to have the romance. I think they made up for it though. I do agree with you that the last photos were way, not just better, but we'll go ahead and say way, way better. One thing that they did do, how many miles did you say they
200 kilometers.
200?
I had to look at the odometers. It was 19,200 and now it's 19,400 kilometers. They did I did the math, it was like 187 kilometers in 2 years.
Wow. Well, good on them for doing at least 20 or 30 of them on this driving video. I just ished all over that dumb BMW M5 wagon idiot. This is the way you do it, dude. Check out this video, guys. It's not pro. It's not like there's nothing about this video that, I mean, this is just a cell phone video or something, or a cheap GoPro stuck in one position. But look at this road. This is the way you want to do it, guys. You want to I mean, the audio kind of sucks, but this guy is ripping through a road that doesn't have there's no driveways, there's no crossroads, there's no kids at bus stops. This guy has both hands on the damn steering wheel. He is, every time he shifts, he goes right back to the steering wheel. He knows how to properly downshift, he flip shift. I mean, this is just like, oh my gosh. They actually took a 700,000 mile car a $700,000 car. And ripped it down some back road. That makes them a hero to me, and I think that will make up for the lackluster, well done but kind of boring photography. All right, so what do we think it's going to bring? You already mentioned that you think you're questioning whether or not it'll get to the number it did last time. So where are you at now?
All right, JP. So again, the car sold for $700,000 in August 2 years ago. According to Classic.com, the 87 Countach 5000 QV in the secondary market is a $583,500 average sale price. I do want to premise this. This is a Canadian market car. The Countach was never officially on sale in the United States, I believe, until the following year. And I think it was a 5000S QV. And so 1988 was the first ones that were actually made specifically for the US market. I believe that is true. So this car is always going to have, and it's silly to say gray market because we never really think of Canadian cars as gray market, but this is a Canadian market car. So it's sold for 700. It hasn't really had any miles. JP, I think it'll bring 700 again, but all the money for these cars is north of 800,000. Like if this car goes bonkers for some reason, this car could go right on past $800,000 and start scratching at 900. Again, we're talking 12,000 miles, fantastic restoration, no wear and tear since the restoration was done. Balboni signed the car and is affiliated with it. It's an award-winning car. I mean, it's a very interesting story. It has very interesting provenance, and it's on a Connecticut. I don't think I said that earlier. Forgive me, everybody. It is on a Connecticut title. When it was sold last time, I don't know that it was. So I do, some of these things could help. So despite, we talk about the market being depressed, JP, but the real blue chip stuff doesn't care about the market. The guys that can afford this car don't really worry about their portfolio being down. If they want one of these, this is couch change. So this car could go bananas, and it wouldn't surprise me. But I think they get their money out of it. I think it brings 700 again. It's its own best comp, so why not? That's sort of my thinking. JP, 700 grand to you.
You're just flat at 700. No extra numbers on there. Okay. Yeah. We've talked about, it used to be kind of a theme. We talked about it a lot. We used to talk about inflation a lot. $700,000 2 years later is a loss.
Right.
We have seen some serious inflation in that amount of time. Cars like, if this were a Lamborghini SVJ, modern one, like a 2017 or something like that. Those cars were trading for around $700,000, a couple of years ago. You'd be lucky to get $500 for one of those right now. I'm with you. I think these are blue chip cars. This one in particular is well documented. It's well known as kind of the one you want. So I do agree that it's not going to have a problem getting back to the 700. The question is, will it get to even money when you adjust for inflation, or will this thing actually see some appreciation? I'm going to say $755,003, just for the QV3 to be kind of cute at the end of this thing. I think it gets somewhere in between, the 700 and 800. I'd like to see it get 800. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it would have to get to 800 in order to make up for inflation. At least high 700s, right? If you at somewhere around 20%. 15.
And I think you're right. I think that's a really good take, JP. I forgot to mention that the car is currently sitting at $505,000 on 8 bids. It does close tomorrow. But listen, I think the real bidders are going to come out tomorrow at closing, and we're going to see what the market thinks of this car. Again, it's a beautiful restoration. It did have a high dollar mark a couple of years ago. If it's even money for this car today, that conversation could be very close to $800,000. So, and a lot of the nerd herd, JP, is with you. There's a couple of 650s in there, but based on what I'm seeing in the herd, I'm the low man. So the herd is with you, JP. A lot of 745s, 55s. Fat Bidbert says 801. And he might get a Yahtzee. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So we'll see. This is a fun one to start off the year with. Like, this is that lottery money, right? You know what I mean?
I mean, it bodes well for the classic car market if this thing gets above that 700, right? I mean, that definitely. I think people are optimistic. I went out on a drive on New Year's Eve day. I didn't go out on New Year's Day, but with a bunch of guys here in Las Vegas, and we were having kind of a cool conversation. There's about a dozen of us. Everyone was just very optimistic about this coming year, and they're all guys that have cars like these. So it's like, okay, all right. I think people are feeling good about it. I do think people are. Everyone agreed unanimously that, inflation is a thing. But I think what people are, for better or worse, people just get used to it. And that just sucks. But people are used to now paying, I don't know, how much is a dozen eggs now? It used to be, I was watching Rockford Files, and he was like, that's a dozen grade A, double, triple grade A eggs that you just dropped. And that's 99 cents. What is it, $10 now? I don't even know. So,
JP,
I'll be that old
quoting
curmudgeon.
James Gardner on Bidder is my favorite thing of the year.
We were talking about the Mazda. He was their spokesperson.
I love him. Absolutely. And he actually raced cars. So part of the reason
Star Grand Prix too, right?
He started Grand Prix and did a lot of his own stunts, a la Steve McQueen. But Gardner knows how to drive. I mean, and all his hand and shifting discipline is all exactly textbook as how they teach it. So I'm a huge James Gardner fan. I just didn't like him in the Love Letter movie with Gosling.
That whole the Rockford Files flip where you go in reverse and hit the parking brake and turn the wheel, and it goes a full 180 degrees, and then you take off. He's the guy. He trained all the stunt people that came on to the Rockford Files.
He taught them how to do it.
All right, what do you guys think this beautiful dream car Countach will bring? Will it break the bank, or will it fail to get what it used to because the pictures are kind of lackluster? Let us know. And let's move on. We still have a bunch of cars to go, and we're kind of going long here.
JP, take a look at this. On Cars and Bids, there's a 2017 Porsche 911 Carrera S Coupe. Sport package, premium package, a few mods, 7-speed manual, white, black, red calipers because it's an S. And 2017 JP is going to be, I think, the first year of the 991.2. So this is going to be the turbocharged motor, 3-liter flat six twin turbos. We're talking 420 horsepower and 370 pound-foot of torque. This thing can get out of its own way. I want to tell the audience that since I've been cursing my purchase of my 84 Carrera 2 years ago, JP's been telling me to buy one of these and give it a ECU flash. And he goes, there's your, budget GT3. But JP, if fans of the show have heard me say for about 4 years, the Polnik package. And the Polnik package typically is a car that is dressed in black on black and then sometimes has black wheels or black graphics on said black car. This car has a Polnik. It is a Polnik. This car has been Polnicked in that, JP, H&R lowering springs and wheel spacers. Go back to that first shot and take a look at the stance on this thing. This car got Polnicked, and man, did they do a good job. You just look at the car and you say to yourself, no, but this one looks right. And you can't put your finger on it because you wouldn't know by staring at it unless you were John Polnik or Michael Deeb or somebody like that to say that car's got wheel spacers because the stance is absolutely perfect. How awesome does that car look? And then it's got some exhaust and a few other little things. JP, all the things that you and I would do to a car have been done to this one. The car is listed on Cars and Bids out of Holly Ridge, North Carolina. It has 45,900 miles. And it's already doing well. This car is gonna surprise you. I think the numbers are really gonna make you go, oh wow, they're getting all the dough for this one. And I think it's because even average photography, you just look at the car and you think, I want to drive that car right there. That car looks like it's ready to run. It looks like parked. It looks like a Sprinter in the starting block. And I love that. So good on you to the seller, the owner of this car. Excellent taste. So JP, what do you think? Because this guy stole some of your tricks, man. He did a really good job with this car, and I think he's going to get rewarded for it. These are things you would do to a car, even if your intention was to sell him, because you know how important selling the romance is. And we just talked about it. But here in a slightly different, we're talking about modifying the car to give it a look. What do you think the value is here?
This car will knock your
Did I lose you, John?
socks off. This thing is unbelievably good. These things, you guys, if you haven't had a chance to drive a 991.2 with a manual that's had these kind of mods, I mean, I've had the chance to drive, even like the base ones with these mods are just unbelievable. This car will perform like, this is the car you wanted the 991.1 GT3 to be. Stick and this kind of power. Holy cow. The only thing that kind of concerns me about this car, yes, I agree with you, Deeb. It is done exactly the way that we would all want it to be done. Mm-hmm. But I'm still I feel like the jury's out with these 3-liter twin turbo cars. That's not a very big engine for a lot of car. I've said it over and over again. The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. I'm a little worried about all the doodads and gizmos, how complex these 991.2s are. This car is a CPO car, but only until March, so you only have a few years. So you want it to break like right now and hopefully fix everything. It's got 40-something thousand miles, so good on the 5 owners that have owned. I mean, this car has exchanged hands a lot, and the listing does mention that you're going to have to check your local emissions requirements because with with that exhaust, it may not pass. You're going to have a lot of fun with this car, but you got to pay attention to a lot of these. It's those little details that get you in trouble. I don't know if any of those details are going to matter. This car looks so good, and people are looking for manual Porsches. They're so hard to find. I think it's going to bring some money. Deeb, what do you think it's going to bring?
All right, JP. So check this out. According to Classic.com, 2017 911S with a manual, a coupe manual, is an $87,750 car in the secondary market. Our car closes tomorrow, but it's already sitting at $77,500 on 26 bids. JP, I think this car is going to go over that 87. My bid is, and I used this bid the other day on the America Roadster, and it got me a win. I'm going to go again, $91,100 and say that it sells and say that's a lot of money for a used, like a 1.2 911S with a manual. That's a lot of money for that car. Especially with 45,000 miles, but the stance and the presentation, I'm reading the tea leaves. I think this guy's going to do pretty well. 91,100 to you, JP. I dare you to go over.
Yeah, I don't think Doug DeMuro can get that done. If this thing were on BAT, I think you'd be getting somewhere in the 80s. But I mean, he's at 77 now. I don't think it's going to get much higher than that. I'm going to go 82 and say that sells it. Yeah, I just don't think. I think people are a little worried about these .2s, these little engines with big turbos getting, especially when you're trying to pump that much horsepower out of them. It's kind of like the new Macans with the little 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo. I mean, do you really want one of those with 60 or 70,000 miles on it? You can get the power out of these things, but I just don't think they're going to last. For my money, if I'm spending 75, 80 grand on a modern 911, I'm going to try to find a .1 naturally aspirated S with a 3.8 liter and 3 pedals. That's the car I think that will hold the value and is the car that you want in the future. For $90,000, I think you could find a GTS 991 and a .1. Maybe closer to 100 for one of those, but depending on the miles. And that's another thing, Deeb. This car has a lot of miles. I think if this car was 20,000 miles, you'd be on the money. But 45,000, that's not a lot of miles between you and me. And for a Porsche guy, no big deal. But the miles really do affect these modern cars a lot more than they do the classic ones. All right, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And let's get to the last car of the night. What do we got?
All right, JP. PCAR Market has an 11,000-mile 2009 Saturn Sky Red Line. The Red Line, JP, is the upgraded turbo motor. So it's a 4-banger that puts out about 260 horsepower. Our car is ruby red, and it's listed on PCAR Market out of Kerrville, Texas. But super low miles, 11,000 miles. Don't get too excited, JP. This car has an automatic. So believe it or not, according to the Hagerty.com price guide, there's a 10% detraction for the automatic transmission, but there's a 10% add-on for the ruby red paint job. So interesting car, JP. Saturn basically, the guys at GM bought an S2000. They brought it into the design studio and they said, we need to make this car on the Saturn brand. And so the S2000 was the target, the watermark for the Saturn. And I've never driven one of these. I can't imagine that they feel as well put together as the Honda is. But it's an interesting car. And, a lot of guys modded these cars. A lot of drifters use these cars and put, whopping horsepower through those things to drift them and that sort of thing. But Saturn's gone. You rarely see these cars on the road. This one looks to be in really nice condition, but a lot like several of the LeBrons that you have owned and we have covered. It's like, who cares anymore? If you drive this car, you're almost driving it ironically. What do you think is going to happen here, JP?
I mean, why are we talking about this car? This is I think the only thing that's interesting about this car is the fact that it's on PCAR Market. It's just like, these guys are such whores. What are they doing?
Yeah.
The listing's interesting. It says previously listed on PCAR Market, but no link to the previous listing. No mention of how long ago that was. Was that a couple weeks ago? There's no list. There's no mention of why it's back. Did it fail to transact? It's like PCAR Market. Come on, guys. They just keep making unforced error after unforced error. I've never driven the Saturn version of this car. I have driven the Pontiac one with a 6-cylinder and a manual, and they're actually pretty fun cars. I have to admit, they're rear-wheel drive little roadsters, and they're about the same money as, call it a Miata, but with a 6-cylinder. You get more poop out of them. Neither the Solstice or the Sky really look good. This definitely has the boomer sensibilities. These poor cars, as decent as they are, were doomed. They're a car that was conceived and put into the ether and on the market during the downturn of the mid-aughts during 2008. So Saturn was just DOA. Pontiac was already going under. If this car had come out a little later when sports cars started coming back, or maybe a lot sooner, earlier in the decade, maybe they could have built a following and people would then look at them nostalgically. But just nobody bought these because no one was buying sports cars in 2009. Everyone was trying to figure figure out how to, pay for rent or their mortgage on a house that just lost half its value. So, especially the people that are interested in something like that. I mean, this car is really for a recent retiree, someone that, you just moved to Sun City or someplace in Phoenix. You
Tampa.
just sold, or Tampa, right? Exactly. And you want to get that 2-seater you always wanted. This thing is just, I mean, what are we doing here?
Oh man. All right, JP, it gets worse. Hold on.
Okay.
Our car, according to our friends at classic.com, a Saturn Sky Red Line is a $16,500 car in the secondary market. This one's in beautiful condition, but has an automatic. It closes in 2 days, JP. So it actually closes on Friday. Our car has just 2 bids, and it's at $2,000. Again, 16.4 is the average. I think our car hammers for just half that. I'm going to go $8,400 where it hammers, and then I bet you it winds up in the chum bucket for something ridiculous like 25 or 30,000 bucks, which they will never get. So 8,400 to you, JP. What's your bid?
No way is it getting. I don't even think it's going to break 5,000. It's at 2,000 now with a day to go on PCAR. This is who on PCAR Market wants this thing. I mean, this is as bad. We talked about that Ruby or what the Raspberry 964 Tiptronic, right? That cost some poor idiot $95,000. There's a great comment in the listing for that. It was something like, this would be a great car for that stylish wife. I mean, that should be enough for you to go, all right, I don't want this thing, right? Get this for your stylish wife. It's only going to cost $5,000, right? I don't know, maybe get rid of the chrome wheels or something. Okay, there's my number, $5,000. I'd be shocked if it even gets to $5,000. I just don't think this car is getting anywhere. Talk about DOA. How much is it in the what'd you say in the, like, realistically, what do you think they're going to ask for in the chum bucket?
I think they're going to ask over $20,000 for it because of the miles and the color, and it's not going to get it because of the transmission. And the other thing is, it's in Kerrville, Texas. JP, who's going to spend 2,500 miles to ship this car across the country? Nobody. Yeah. So this car has to go to San Antonio or Houston or whatever else is north of Texas. I don't know my geography that well, but like, if this car doesn't go, this car is not going more than 1,000 miles in any direction because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Here in Las Vegas, a lot of times, I'll check the listings on Craigslist, and I like to go out into the greater Las Vegas area has whatever listings, but then you go out in like Mojave County, which is like Lake Havasu and Kingman, out in the desert a couple hours from here, where, it's just retirees, and you see these for sale all the time. Like, that's where these cars live, is Lake Havasu. But you see them with manuals occasionally, right? And I've seen, so I've actually been kind of watching the value of some. We've seen really nice manual ones on Bring a Trailer with crazy low miles because nobody drives these. It's all, like we said, it's retirees, so it's not like they're commuting in these things. See super low mile ones on BAT barely make $12,000 with 3 pedals. So how is an automatic one getting anywhere? No chance. This thing.
This color, this condition, and these miles. If it were manual, it might be a $20,000 car if it was already in LA
maybe
or Florida,
or something like that.
But otherwise it's back to the average. This car, JP, and with these assets, this car should have been on Cars and Bids. I think they would have done better with it.
Yeah. So Anthony, F you. He says, JP, didn't you buy a Volkswagen thing on the desert? No, I got scammed on a Volkswagen thing out in the desert. I did pay for it, but didn't get a thing.
Yeah.
Sai, thanks for peeling the scratch the scab.
That too, Anthony. It's day one, Anthony. It's day one. Save some for the rest of the year.
There was some love. Jeez. All right, guys. That's it. This is an episode. Some people were asking if you joined us late on this episode. People were going, "Hey, where's Chris Carbine?" Chris Carbine is safe. He is in New Orleans. Yep. We did talk to him today. Yeah. But him and Ann had a dinner tonight, so they're probably watching right now, but not able to interact. So again, we are all thinking about him because he is just a few blocks away from ground zero there. So he's all good. So there it is. Yeah. We will be back Sunday night with new predictions. We'll go over the predictions that we made here tonight, see how close we were. Guys, if you're watching, go over to the listings on the cars that we've talked about and comment in those listings that you saw us talk about them and analyze the listings on Bid Nerds. That really helps us out a lot. We see big jumps.
Carbine's Turbo S, that 991.1 Turbo S, is closing on Sotheby's tomorrow. It's up to $117,000. JP's bid was $149. Mine was $155. That car's closing tomorrow. Go make a comment. Go wave at that car. Or if you know somebody that might be interested, that's a hell of a car right there. Low mile, one owner,
car for sure.
And I know the owner. It's one of Chris's really good friends. Great guy. I would buy anything he has for sale. Just a super dude, super passionate, and takes excellent care of his stuff. Just look at the condition of that car. So check it out.
All right, guys. Happy New Year. We will see you Wednesday night. We're out.
Nerds!
Bid Nerds is your YouTube card game show.